Hey guys, Corey here. Welcome back. Mental Edge Day again. That's the focus here. Super exciting. You have made it to week 2. And let me start by saying congratulations, because a lot of people, they just refuse or don't even think about or have any really inclination to even reflect upon these sorts of things, about how their mindset and their attitude and their level of awareness and attention and their environments even affect every single aspect of their behavior. So I commend you. I commend you on taking the steps and being tenacious enough and persistent and consistent enough to want to do this. So thank you. Thank you for that and for joining me through this. So after this first week, you have now learned about goal attainment, right? What SMART goals are. And you've learned about awareness, how to increase it, what that means. We've talked a little bit about positioning your attention, and we'll get into that a little bit more today. We've talked about eliminating barriers, okay? And that has a lot to do with recognizing what's going on up here, what's driving us, or are we driving it, how we're influenced by our thoughts, but also by the external environment, the people out here, the circumstances, you know, internally too, if we come back to that, how we're influenced by our moods. Motivation is really impacted by our level of fatigue, how much sleep we've gotten, what and how we're eating, if we're exercising or not. Our energy impacts our level of motivation and the commitment that we are able to exert at any one time. So we're going to get into that a little bit more today too. We talked about vulnerability. That's this word that a lot of people don't really like. Kind of scary for a lot of people. I want to encourage you to look at it more as an openness to experience, okay? Rather than kind of shrinking down and becoming rigid in the face of what could potentially be uncomfortable, what could potentially take work and some effort and time and devotion, can expand us, can get us to a place of greater learning. So instead of rigidity, we want to look at expanding into becoming more curious about and moving into what we might perceive as scary, moving into that with more zest, more enthusiasm, okay? So let's go through a little bit more things related to those concepts, dig in a little deeper, and then we will dive into, kind of give you a little preview of what's coming up this next week. Sound good? So I'd like to make it really easy and break down motivation, okay, that high level of energy, vitality, and enthusiasm that we all want, that we'd like to have on a really consistent basis without these peaks and valleys, right? Let's break it down into there's 3 legs of motivation, okay? The 3 A's that I like to call them. We've got awareness. You've heard this word before. We've got attitude. All right, love this word. And then we have authenticity, okay? Another very, for me, substantive word. It's got a lot of layers and nooks and crannies and nuances. So awareness is how we position our attention, okay? What are we paying attention to? What level of intensity and focus are we putting into our attention? These days, guys, we're all walking around like zombies. I mentioned this in one of the shorter videos. We're all walking around distracted. We're not necessarily reflecting upon why we're doing what we're doing. And I encourage you to do that. Ask, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing it because I've always done it? Because other people have said it's a good idea? because it's one of those shoulds that's operating in the back of my mind without me, until now, really noticing it? Or is what I'm doing and putting my attention toward, my energy toward, does it have some utility? Is there meaning behind it? Does it serve a real value-driven purpose? Okay, so awareness gives us the ability not only to put our attention toward what is most important and what needs doing or doesn't need doing, okay? Part of awareness is being able to eliminate distractions, but it also allows us to be more present, okay? To get less caught up in and or snagged by what is rummaging around up here all the time. Because as I mentioned, we have thousands of thoughts a day. Guess which ones are generally going to snag us? What are the ones that we typically get caught up in and that cause that sense of heaviness and stuckness? It's typically the ones that are like the worst case scenario thoughts, the scary thoughts, the what if thoughts, for example, what if they don't like me? What if I get rejected? What if they say my idea is stupid? I don't want to raise my hand or, offer my feedback and risk them looking at me like I've got two heads. We can learn to pay attention to that in a different way and just notice it, observe it. Okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense that I would have that thought. Like, evolutionarily, you know what? We were in protect mode, survive mode all the time. Realistically now, in this day and age, that's not something we generally have to worry about, okay? And I will tell you this, we need to expect that if we're putting ourselves out there and we're doing things that are important to us and we're finding and sharing our voice, there are going to be those people who don't like it. And to them I say, whatever. Because for every one person who doesn't like your message, who doesn't resonate with your message, who just doesn't give a shit about what you're saying, there's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more people who love it. Guys, pardon my language. This topic really, really resonates with me. I spent a lot of time in my life hiding. Okay? Kind of feeling like a shell of a person because I wasn't taking care of my voice and putting it out there. I wasn't paying attention to, also, awareness here, how that was affecting me long term. We don't want to hide. Here's the other thing that awareness gives us, okay? It can provide an avenue to clarity. If we're not paying attention, we can walk around and have a bunch of different goals, but not know what to do with each of those goals, what steps to take, and why. Awareness allows us to ask that big question. Why? Why am I pursuing this? How come this is important to me? How does this resonate with me? How does this connect to, the part of my identity that I'm proud of? That's awareness. Here's the second thing. Attitude, right? When I was younger, and I remember in grade school, attitude was really associated with like negativity. It's such a bad attitude. Now I look at it completely differently. Attitude to me is confidence, how we carry ourselves, the type of thoughts that we allow to filter through our minds, okay? How we position our bodies. Attitude conveys what we believe about ourselves, okay? And the manner in which we are going to move into a goal pursuit, all right? Attitude is mindset, guys. So if awareness is related to presence Attitude is related to the propensities for our behavior. So if I adopt an attitude or a mindset of curiosity, I'm going to move into my goal pursuit and the situations, the circumstances that I find myself in, because now I'm paying attention to curiosity. How can I enter this room with curiosity? I'm going to move into that with a propensity to ask questions, to be inquisitive, okay? To acquire feedback. Counter that with an attitude of superiority, with an attitude of I'm right, you're wrong. The outcomes of that situation are going to look a lot different, right? So I can move into a situation with an attitude and mindset of compassion, all right? I might go home this evening and, my partner is there and he's kind of stressed from work. I notice this just based on his body language and what he's saying or not saying. And I make a conscious decision to put my attention toward an attitude of love and compassion. How do you think I'm going to approach him? I could also not pay attention at all and bring the same energy that I brought to this video, for example, which is an attitude of zest and enthusiasm and assertiveness. If I approach him with that same attitude and mindset, man, the outcome is going to turn out very differently, right? So think about all your goals you have. Think about what you're working towards accomplishing. What attitude, what mindset are you bringing to the tasks and the responsibilities, the people, the projects, the steps? What are you bringing? What attitude what energy are you bringing to it? Okay. I'm working with a client right now, worked with her before on nutrition and weight loss. She's come back to me. She's got 10 to 15 pounds she wants to lose. We haven't necessarily worked on the psychology of this yet, the peak performance aspects, the mindset, the motivation, the commitment. Little snippets here and there in our work, but it hasn't really been anything she's been interested in as much now. And I asked her, this time when we do this, talk to me about how you want to approach the goal. And she came back and she said, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Like, what do you mean? And I said, well, talk to me about the how. How do you want to track your food? How do you want to feel when you weigh yourself? What's the energy that you want to bring to all these tasks associated with your pursuit? And she's like, oh, well, haven't really thought about that before. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, you guys, here's your cue. Think about it. But then she said, what this brings up for me is that I've spent probably the last 7 years trying to pursue this goal, but here's what it's felt like. It's felt like an annoyance. How many of you want to pursue your goal and feel like it's a monkey on your back? Like you're dragging around a bowling ball everywhere you go? Just annoyed and pissed off and like, why do I have to do this? And this is such a burden. No, that's not the energy, guys. That's not the energy that we want to bring to what's important to us. We need to adopt a mindset that says, bring it on. Let's do this. Let's see what happens. Let's see what I can learn. That's a mindset. Love of learning. Okay? We can adopt a mindset of humility. We can adopt a mindset of appreciating the beauty associated with everything that I get to do that's associated with this goal. So that's why that's important, guys. So awareness is associated with presence. It allows us to gain clarity. Attitude is associated with our propensities for behavior. Okay, attitude moves us in a certain direction with a certain level of energy. Okay, and that can be associated with these 3 C's. This is how I remember things, guys. 3 A's, 3 C's: compassion, curiosity, and courage. Those are 3 for me that help me bring the energy. Okay. The third one, the third A, is authenticity. All right. Authenticity is how we show up in the world. All right. Authenticity says, what's your voice? Are you sharing it or are you hiding? Are you being purposeful? Are you being intentional? Are you just going through the motions? Authenticity is being able to ask, why didn't I say that? That was inside of me. I really feel that way. Like, that's a principle of mine. I'd like you guys to think through over the course of your lives, if you were to have kind of journaled your way through every experience of yours, what was the main takeaway, the main learning? Like, I kind of look at this as developing your life's mission statement. So, I've done this over the course of my life, probably most often over the last probably 7 years. I journaled my way through my dissertation because it was difficult. It was a difficult time in my life in general, with that added on, and moving across the US and starting another business and managing another one and losing relationships and trying to find more. And I developed some kind of foundational principles that helped me to understand, like, what was important to me, what was my purpose. And by purpose, I don't mean my one thing that I'm here to do on the planet. Like, I haven't figured that out yet, and I'm not trying to. That to me feels like a waste of energy. It truly does, because in different situations, under different circumstances, with different people, my purpose shifts. It really does. But I can look at the foundation of who I am and what I want to embody as pretty darn stable. Like, if there was one word that I could use to represent my most important understanding of my life and the world, it would be love. It would be love. It would be love and compassion. So in everything I do, I want to embody that. Whether I'm in an argument, whether I'm in a conflict, when I'm getting pissed off when I'm driving and there's traffic, I have the awareness to recognize that rigidity in my body, that level of discomfort, okay, getting pissed off, and then the thoughts that say, why me? How come I have to deal with this? And then being like, really? No, if I were to embody a space of love and compassion right now, how might that change my behavior, my propensities, right? I want to adopt a mindset of compassion, okay? Totally changes my energy. So here's what that boils down to, guys. Authenticity, remember, it brings us to a place of purpose, all right? What's my purpose in this situation? And ultimately leads to that foundation of our character. All right, what do we represent? How do we want to show up in the world, in everything that we do? Okay, so let's review. We've got awareness, we've got attitude, and we've got authenticity. Big stuff. I love this. Now, here is what we're looking at for the following week, okay? We're going to be talking about what it means to anticipate, what it means to plan ahead, to look forward and ask, what might I be in for? What might be some barriers that could potentially get in my way? And what's the energy I want to bring to them? What's that mindset? How can I become more aware and observant, right? And what's the foundation of my character that's going to help guide me through them? If I'm going to approach obstacles with a sense of and a mindset of curiosity, don't you think I'm going to like move through them a lot differently than if I approached it with a mindset of perfection? Yeah. So we're also going to dig further into positioning our attention, what that looks like, what it means. And guys, these are going to be short, quick hitting videos again. They're going to be less than a couple minutes. So I'm going to give you like kind of a little bit of information, and then I'm going to give you a strategy to use. I'm probably going to give you a question to ponder and reflect upon until the next day, right? So we're going to get through that week again, and then I'm going to do another one of these little reviews for you where we dig a little deeper, okay? Here's the other thing. We're going to look at environmental triggers. So I talked about how we have these internal things that are going on. You know, we recognize how we're feeling because of the signals that our bodies give us, right? Emotion is energy. Sensations are what that's emotion's language, okay? Things within our environment can cue certain emotions, but it's also based on how we're perceiving whatever is occurring out here. Stress is like one of those things. Stress is a perception. There isn't just we see something and it's stressful. No. We classify it and categorize it as stressful based on the connections we're making about what it is, what it means, how it's bad, how it's good. Like, we create a valence based on what we think about it. So we're going to look at environmental triggers in a little more detail, all right? And then novelty. I love this word. I love this word because novelty is newness, it's freshness, it's different. It's like going on vacation or going to a foreign country, and that sense of uncertainty and not knowing, like, we crave that, right? But only in certain situations. Like, we want to go on vacation, but we tend to avoid ambiguity in other situations in our lives. Why? Why can't we transfer that love of novelty and recognize that it's the only way to grow and learn? Like, we have to pursue things that we don't know, don't understand, in order to become more complex individuals. Love this stuff. Okay, guys, thank you. So glad you're here with me again. I will see you tomorrow.